Thank you, Mr. Leader. Grateful to see all of you. The Republican Party is unified and energized after our convention. We're excited about this campaign because we have the answers to all the great challenges facing the country. And you've seen the momentum behind the Trump and Vance ticket and all of our party being excited to get out there and have this debate. This election will be about policies and not personalities, and we are delighted to line up the record of President Trump against the Biden-Harris record. It's very clear where we're going. So we're in unprecedented, very challenging times as a country because of the weak leadership out of the White House. And at this unprecedented moment, we have to be clear about exactly what happened here in the last 24 hours or so. Just over, or 48 hours ago, just over 100 days before an election, Democrat Party bosses forced Joe Biden off the ballot. They invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who went through the small d democratic process and chose their nominee for president. The self-proclaimed party of democracy can't claim to be that anymore because they just steamrolled democracy and made a decision in a back room. And one thing is clear. If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to run the country. We're stating the obvious. We're stating what everybody is seeing with their own eyes. And it's a hard truth, but it's one that the country has to face. Right now, we're facing altogether increased threats because of this weakness. We're facing threats right here at home, and we're sending the world a dangerous message. America needs strong, resolute leadership at this perilous moment. Joe Biden is not providing that. Kamala Harris is incapable of providing that, and we need to get November 5 here as quickly as possible. I would say this, and I've hastened to remind our enemies around the world, our adversaries around the world, that regardless of the chaos surrounding this White House, I want our adversaries to be reminded that the United States Congress, the United States military, and the American people are fully prepared and committed to defend our interests both at home and abroad, and you should not mistake the drama surrounding Joe Biden as any sign of weakness or any moment of opportunity for you. Our country deserves better. I believe we'll get that after November 5th, and as I said, it can't happen soon enough. Regarding the Secret Service failures, we did have that hearing yesterday. It was outrageous and inexcusable what happened Saturday last, and I think Director Cheadle needs to go. I called for her resignation within days of the event, and when it became clear that she would not resign on her own, I called on President Biden to fire her. The buck should stop at the White House, and accountability begins at the top. I met with Director Cheadle before the oversight hearing yesterday morning in the back library, and I told her this is not personal, but this is serious business, and she needs to step aside. Since the evening of the shooting, I and all of our colleagues, all the Republicans and Democrats as well, have been demanding the answers, and they have not been forthcoming. The oversight hearing was a bust because she was unable or unwilling to provide the answers that the American people need. Although she says she's taking full responsibility, quote unquote, we know that that's clearly not true. Because of this, it necessitates a specific precision, precise and quick action by the Congress. And so while we have a number of committees of jurisdiction who have already done great work on this, they leapt right into action as you would expect they would do. I think the moment calls for something unique and different. We need to move quickly. We need to get the answers that the American people deserve. And so we are establishing a special task force in the House that will be bipartisan. It'll be composed of 7 Republicans, 6 Democrats. The composition of the committee will be persons who have expertise in the areas in question and a lot of insight about that. We'll give the list of the composition of the committee, the members, by the end of this week. But they'll have 3 primary responsibilities. We have to get the answers, of course, about what happened. We need to make sure that accountability is ensured to the American people, and then we need to prevent anything like this from ever happening again. The committee will have subpoena authority. They will begin immediately. A final report will be due from the committee no later than December 13th, but we could probably expect that there will be interim reports along the way. We have a finite set of facts and circumstances here with regard to the event last Saturday, but there are deeper problems, obviously, in the Secret Service, And I think this task force will be the way for us to get to the bottom of that. Finally, it's been mentioned I'm happy to welcome Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for what will be his fourth address to a joint session of Congress. He will set the record, surpassing Winston Churchill as the foreign leader who has addressed Congress the most times, because we live in historic moments and because his testimony directly to Congress is so important with regard to what's happening in Israel right now. 120 hostages languish in tunnels deep in the land over there in Gaza, built by Hamas. These tunnels have been, and that includes, of course, 8 Americans, and we cannot forget that. Our two nations are united in our common cause to bring the hostages home, and we are united to stand against our common enemies. As Iran and its proxies, including Hezbollah and the Houthis, have become increasingly hostile, they attack Israelis in the north and in Tel Aviv, we have to be clear that Israel is not alone. It has never been more important than it is right now for us to stand with our closest ally in the Middle East and our traditional partner in all these things. And it is outrageous to me and inexcusable that, as the leader mentioned, that Kamala Harris is boycotting this joint session. This is an historic moment. It's an important moment for the country for all the reasons we've said. The gravity of the situation cannot be overstated. And yet, Kamala Harris will abandon her seat. As you all know, as the Vice President and as serving as the President of the Senate, she is supposed to be seated next to me at the rostrum. She will not be there because she refuses to attend. She needs to be held accountable for that, and she needs to be asked very searing questions about why. They went down the roster to find out who else would sit in the seat. Senator Patty Murray declined the opportunity as well. She will also boycott the event, skip the speech. They landed on Senator Cardin, who is retiring from the Senate, so has little political risk. The idea that they're making political calculations when our ally is in such dire straits, fighting for its very survival,